Hello, everyone. As you maybe are hearing now, the bells of my closest church are ringing, so it's time for our second kickoff. Now, especially for all the folks in the Americas region, and I know that many people from the U.S., Canada, and South America are joining us for the second half of our sprint session. As you can see here, the website of the sprints was updated. Now we have here some really nice two quick links. The most important one for you maybe is the schedule. We are now here at the kickoff of the block B, and we will have one at midnight as a wrap-up session. So check this thing out just to coordinate with your sprint leaders and to see if you would like to participate, maybe saying something about what's going on in the project that you decided to participate. Good. So without further ado, we will start now presenting some projects. In the morning, we had some recorded messages. Now we have the option of people joining. So we will have some live sessions at first, and then at the end, we will have some recorded from this morning. So the first project I would like to introduce is Callisto, and for this, I would like to invite Laura. Hey, Laura.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here. So I'll be
Cool.
sprint leading for the Callisto team. And I'll quickly share my screen.
And there I see it. And now the floor is yours.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much to the JupyterCon team and sponsors for putting together this event. It's been a wonderful opportunity to be here and to get a chance to talk to people. I'm really looking forward to today's sprint session, and I'm really excited to see today's developments. I'd like to give a shout out to our representatives and mentors, Byron Chu, David Hay, Michael Lamru, and Bryce Haley, who will be supporting us during the day. So for today, we'll be working on the theme Data Literacy for the Common Good. We have four main topics. We have climate change emissions, ocean monitoring, democracy, voter action and participation, and last but not least, we want to take a look at the relationship between socioeconomic status and life quality. And in a second, I'll show you the GitHub repository with a few more details. The goal of the sprint are, first, identify open data sets that cover any of the topics. We have put together a compendium of some of these data sets to get you started, but of course, you are welcome to bring forward your own. Then the goal is to develop Python scripts that can obtain the data online, either through an API or web scraping. And then from there, we'll develop a set of Jupyter notebooks whose goal is to explore, visualize, and describe the data. If you're not comfortable with programming, we also have an option that's most focused on describing. So we have provided a number of notebooks, and then the task is how do we bridge the gap between having a visualization and being able to derive meaning from it. So the idea is to use Jupyter notebooks to create interactive narratives that can help inform students, educators, and members of the general public. A bit about our project. So this is done through the Callisto project. This is done as a partnership or as part of a partnership between Cyberra in Alberta and the Pacific Institute for the Mathematical Sciences. The Callisto project is funded by the CanCode program. This is a Canadian government initiative that brings data science and coding into the classroom. And what we do through Callisto is we provide resources for teachers and students in the forms of webinars and Jupyter notebooks so that we can facilitate learning coding, data science, and computational thinking. And of course, you can learn more about us by visiting callisto.ca. And there you'll find a number of Jupyter notebooks, and we're also in the process of rolling a data science course pretty soon. We were very pleasantly surprised to see that the NumFocus platform was being used. It is a platform that we are using for our coming courses, so this will be a chance for people to learn more about computational thinking and data science. So just a little bit of a plug there for a program. As far as our plan for JupyterCon sprint goes, we have put together a number of issues on our GitHub repository. So we basically have three main roles. We have a grassroots contributor role, where the goal is to develop a Jupyter notebook from scratch. If you have already a notebook that you'd like to perfect, or if you have a notebook that you feel is too technical and could use a little bit more translating or rewording so that it's accessible by members of general public, you're welcome to bring forward your notebook. The other track we have is a data ambassador, and we have two main tasks as part of this track. One, as I mentioned before, you can help us create YouTube videos whose goal is to interpret the data. Basically, what does it mean to look at a graph and derive meaning from it, and not only meaning but also the correct insights. So from JupyterCon, we did notice that a few of you put together the COVID-19 dashboard. So this is a chance for those of you who may have encountered this to take a look at it. We put forward a few of our Jupyter notebooks as well, and then we've put forward a few sources from StatScan and Gapminder. The other task that the data ambassador can take on is to help us identify tools that can facilitate offline access to notebooks. And the reason we're interested in this activity is one of the challenges we find often is that students who have internet don't have an issue accessing the material since everything is launched through a Jupyter hub called the Callisto hub. But one question that does keep coming up, especially in rural communities, is that, well, my students don't have access to internet. Therefore, this presents a barrier in their learning. So the question is, how can we identify solutions that, on the one hand, minimize the need for the teacher and the student to install a tool so that the tool doesn't get in the way of learning, and two, it's relatively easy to deploy on any given operating system. So those are the two tasks. And then the last one is if you find something within our repositories, we have listed all of our notebooks and everywhere where we keep our work. If you find something that could use some more work or could work a little better, we're always open to feedback and improvement. So you're welcome to create pull requests, and I've added a little bit of documentation if you can do this. So I'll stop sharing since this is the end of my presentation, but I'm really looking forward to the sprint. And again, I thank everyone for putting so much work into JupyterCon. It's been a wonderful experience, and I'm really looking forward to sharing with you insights for our wrap up.
Thank you very much, Laura. This sounds like an amazing project. I mean, I would love to have been in school, like having these kind of tools to learn. It's really enlightening. So thank you very much. And we expect to have many people collaborating with Callisto. And yeah, see you around. So now we have the Turing Way. And for this, maybe if you were joining in the morning, you will remember Kirsty. So as always, you have the opportunity now to let us a bit know about the Turing Way. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, it's wonderful to be back here again. Christine, you're doing such an amazing job wrangling us all and allowing us to speak to people in so many time zones. So good morning to everyone in American time zones, and good night to anyone who's tuning in further east. My name is Kirsty. I work at the Alan Turing Institute, which is the UK's National Institute for Data Science and Artificial Intelligence. And one of the things that we've found to be a barrier to kind of people participating in an open source ecosystem is not that they don't have skills and that they don't have knowledge. It's just maybe they're missing like one or two pieces of information about how to get involved. Maybe that's how to do a pull request. Maybe that's understanding some of the jargon inside of Git. Maybe it's thinking about kind of understanding the motivation for why this would happen. And a lot of the times I think people feel a little bit kind of nervous. So we have a project. I'm going to share my screen right now and talk you through a couple of the slides to describe why we are building this Jupyter book. I need to present. Here you go. The Turing Way is an open source book that involves and supports a diverse research community in ensuring that reproducible and ethical data science is accessible and comprehensible for everyone. And we know, like everyone that's watching this, if you're part of the Jupyter community, you know that reproducibility is important, but you probably also know that there are lots and lots of steps in the research cycle that you have to be thinking about reproducibility in order to really be reproducible. And this is one of the things that we found people sort of feel pretty overwhelmed about. And it can often mean that they think, oh, I can't possibly contribute into that cycle of improving how we use research and how we share it. But we're here to help. We're here to hold your hand and support you through learning some of these skills. So the Jupyter book started out with a lot of specific guides around reproducibility, version control, your computational environment. We try and contribute into the Binder ecosystem as best we can. But there's lots and lots of other elements of that cycle that are really important. So making sure you design your project so that you are able to reproduce and also reuse and share your materials as best you can. Thinking about, and this links back to the previous sprint, which I also think sounds absolutely amazing. How do you responsibly communicate the work that you've done? How do you make sure that people who don't have the same skill set as you can understand what you've done and be able to build on it? How do you embed ethics into everything that you do? How do you think about your sort of individual responsibilities in this very, very large and global system? And what are the skills that you need to be able to effectively collaborate with people who have different experiences and backgrounds to you? So one of the things that we do is we try and make sure that our GitHub repository is welcoming and well documented. We have a code of conduct with contributing guidelines. We've got the README file, as you sort of welcome, Matt, which our Hacktoberfest participants are currently translating into loads of different languages. We've got Dutch and Portuguese. I think Italian and French are on their way. So we welcome anyone who wants to help us translate the book to make it more accessible. And then if you contribute, you will then be listed in our contributors guide. And this morning, the person who joined the sprint was our 203rd contributor, which is just an amazing number. And I'm so proud of everybody who's been helping us on over the last couple of years. During the sprint, we're going to have a HackMD document that's got all of the links, all of the information that you need. It's kind of late here. I'm in London in the UK. So we're going to run it as sort of a Pomodoro session where I'll be around at the beginning and during the breaks for anyone who wants to get set up. And then I'll probably head out and have a little bit of a walk, maybe have some dinner. But I'll keep coming back and checking in with you. And I hope that there'll be lots of ways for you to connect with us, even as it gets later and later in the evening over here. We want to make sure that we apply best practice open leadership principles in everything we do, making sure that we're understandable, that we're designing to be shared, and that we encourage your participation and help you feel as included as you possibly can in all of our decisions. There are lots of issues that are already tagged with JupyterCon or Hacktoberfest, so they're a really, really good place to start if you want to kind of get over that hurdle of forking the repo, getting it down on your computer, and making that first pull request. But I'm also really happy to discuss the expertise that you have and how you can help us along. And I want to advertise the fact that we usually run in-person book dash events. Obviously, we don't run in-person events anymore because it's 2020, but we have applications open until the 22nd of October for our first all-remote week-long sprint. We're going to try and cover as many time zones as possible with set slots for you to come along and join during the day. We're going to really encourage everyone to apply, and please share that call for applications with people that you might know who would like a little bit of mentorship and support to be able to contribute to the book. So thank you to everyone. There's not 200 faces on this slide, so this is one of these slides that's always out of date, but we really appreciate everyone who's part of it, and I hope you'll come along and hang out with me this evening. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Chrissy. So yeah, I also am looking forward to see how many new contributors you will get this second half of the sprint. Thank you. Bye-bye. So now, as a double agent, I will jump in and give you some brief description of the Python documentation translation that some folks are doing. With, of course, our Spanish is our native language. So at some point, from the motivation from different communities, we decided, hey, why not? This should be a good idea. So just to tell you a little bit, this started roughly when the Argentinian community started to translate some documentation, especially the tutorial there. And it was really cool. Many people managed to go through that tutorial and start to learn some Python. So they decided at some point that to do some migration for all these RST content, to put it in PO files. These files are really nice and easy to translate to other languages, which is something that other languages also are doing with the Python docs. So we started around May of this year officially. And we managed after a couple of months to be officially accepted. So what does this mean? That every time that you go to docs.python.org, you can see Spanish there as an official language on the combo box on the top. So the collaborations, to give you an idea, up until yesterday were around the following. So 151 open issues, without 68 without any assignee, because this is because we created many new issues for newcomers and Hacktoberfest. We have still 44 open PRs, and we have closed 590 PRs. So this is really something that is quite impressive for all of us. We started, I think, at the last sprint we did was around 300, so 200 PRs since maybe in a couple of months. We have a Telegram group as an official communication platform, and we have around 120 something there. Starting the translation is quite easy. We have a contributing guideline website there. Don't worry about the links. We will be sharing it on the special channel. Contributing is quite easy. You fork, then you check for issues without any assignee, and then you submit a pull request. Since you saw many flags at the beginning, which words do we use? It's something interesting to know. Well, we define everything in a translation memory. We go on Telegram, we say, hey, what do you believe that is the best translation for this phrase? We had discovered many funny words that in the slang of one country means something completely different on the other one. So it has been really quite a really nice experience. For the configuration, just to give you an idea, we just encourage to use virtual environments and install two tools, PowerWrap and PostSpell, which help you to wrap the file and check the spelling of the files, and also PoEdit, which is a really cool tool to translate entries from PO files quite easy. There are some issues on Windows, but we have managed to fix them all. The workflow, as I mentioned, is you get an unassigned issue, you create your local branch, and you submit your pull request with the translation, right? So it sounds quite straightforward. There are some problems, right? As I told you before, you can find that our CI will complain, and this is mainly because all the issues that we have with wrapping files or spell checking. But don't worry about it. For doing all these fixes, we have already some documentation in place. You can run easily the command PowerWrap, or with PostSpell, you can also check and create your own dictionaries with accepted words. And if you have maybe an outdated local branch, you can just update your local branch. We have the case of many people without much knowledge of Git jumping into the project and kind of learning and getting comfortable with it. So it was quite nice. Of course, there are many other questions around that we have beautifully defined there in the frequently asked questions page, so you can drop in. That will be it. Muchas gracias. And if you are interested in this and you speak Spanish, maybe a second language, which we have some people that speak Spanish second language helping, maybe you will drop in the channel and give us a hand with a couple of files. We have really short files, so it will be really for you to start with. So that will be from my side. I will remove this screen now, and we have yet another project. We have Luke here joining us from Terminus DB. Hey, Luke. I don't know if he is currently... there you are.
Yes,
good.
I'm here. Just took a while to load. All the way from Ireland.
Good. So yeah, the floor is yours. You can share your screen if you want.
Thank you very much. Excellent. Well, thanks very much for the introduction, and thanks a lot for everybody's work at JupyterCon Sprints. It's been great so far today. And thanks to you for, bashing us all in the head and getting us into the room. So I'm Luke from Terminus DB. Firstly, I'd like to shout out to my colleague, Chuck Ting Ho. She is the real Pythonista from Terminus DB, and she drives us all into the world of Python and Jupyter Notebooks. So she will be back in the sprint, in this part of the sprint, helping all of our friends in the United States and South America and Canada who want to contribute into Terminus DB. So I'm just going to share my screen. Let's see. Sorry, I didn't bring my headphones, so I think my clicking is quite loud. So there we go. That's us. So we are a distributed revision control database. So we're an open source graph database. So a lot of the stuff that Kirsty said earlier for her introduction for the Turing Institute was very relevant to us as well, because we're really about trying to provide that reproducibility and visibility into your data pipeline and that revision control, so you can, you know, roll back, time travel, and move the head of the database back in time, and do all sorts of fancy stuff around that. So here's our.
Oh, seems like we are losing you a little bit. Maybe the connection is not stable enough.
Our GitHub repo, you'll be able to see that we have some issues open here, which are relevant to Hacktoberfest as well as the JupyterCon sprint. We also have some issues in our tutorials. And so I'll put these up in the group as well so everybody can have a look at them. So the sort of thing that we're doing, we're a spin out from university. So we came out of Trinity College in Dublin. And what we worked on initially was something called the Global History Data Bank. It's this big project to bring together all of the political and social data sets from all of human history, and then provide them in a single place so people can do machine readable analytics on the top of them, looking at long durée history. So we use Python a lot and Jupyter notebooks to work in the data. And this is an example that we did recently where we were kind of trying to suck out data from battles and match it with data from polities. So we kind of, you can see, you can look through our GitHub repos, and you can see all of the queries and all of the detail there. But what we really, one of the cool things that we get is these great visualizations, which are really looking at links between polities and battles. So we suck data from different places, combine it into Determinist DB, and then do some work on it at, in the Python client and elsewhere. So I can do these cool I love force-directed graphs. They're great because you can drag around battles by their empires. So we are, as I say, we have this set of issues open in our Python client. And again, this set of issues open in our Terminus DB tutorials, which are very focused on Hacktoberfest and JupyterCon. And so we'd really like people to come along and have a look at those, try some of the help wanted, good first issue ones, and then, poke around, see what else you might want to be interested in trying to provide. We're really interested in anything you can do, anything. We're a young project. We're ready to go in different directions. So we'd be very interested to hear what people want to work on and what they want to bring to the table. This is our community. So this is our website. So we actually have a Discord community. We were joking earlier about how many different applications you now have to have in order to communicate with the world. You have to have Slack, Discord, Mattermost, Gitter, WhatsApp, everything. You got to have a million things. Anyway, we're on Discord, so we're always there and always ready to ask questions. We also have a forum on Discourse and obviously the GitHub and everything else. So basically, that's us. I'll be over in the chat right now, and Chuck will be back with us later. Thanks.
Cool. Very informative, Luke. There was a really cool review. So yeah, I also expect many people joining these cool projects. I was digging into some issues and I managed to understand some of the things that you use. So it was quite approachable.
Great.
Let's say it.
That's great to hear.
Cool. See you around. Thank you, Luke. So now I would like to show you, we have a record message from one of the projects that is joining now. I would like to continue with Saturn. So let's give it a go.
Hi there, my name is Charles Averill, and today I'll be showing off Saturn, my multi-threaded, locally collaborative alternative to Jupyter Notebooks. A Saturn graph functions very similarly to a notebook. Both are comprised of code cells that can be run independently of one another. However, Saturn differs in that code cells are not stored linearly, but instead in a directed graph of parent and child cells. This allows Saturn code execution to run cells of the same generation simultaneously by placing each adjacent cell on its own thread. Another advantage of Saturn is that it is locally collaborative, meaning that users on the same local network can collaborate on the same notebook in real time. This makes Saturn a great tool for teachers or presenters who'd like to showcase code execution on mobile or lightweight devices. If you're feeling a bit more secretive about your projects, there are lots of options to hide your Saturn instance from users across the network. Saturn is still in its early stages of development, so we have a lot of work to do. Check out our issues page to see what features you can help us implement. We have tasks of all difficulty for both the front end and back end of Saturn, and even translation tasks if you'd like to help make Saturn more accessible for people across the world. Thanks for sticking around, and I hope I'll see you at our sprint. I think you're muted there, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do my outro. Hi everyone, I'd just like to thank. Sorry. We can't hear you, Christian.
I think that there is some audio problems. I think
Can you hear me?
yeah, kind of bad, but we can still hear something.
I'm just. Is that any better? Messing around.
No, but it's still, you can manage to say a few words.
Okay. Well, I'd just like to thank JupyterCon organizers for providing this opportunity. Just a reminder that we have a lot of different issues for all sorts of different things. So even if you're unsure of your ability to contribute, I'm positive we have some help for you. If you have any questions, we've got our Discord server, which is you can find the link in the GitHub repo, and I'll be online all day. So thank you.
Cool. Thank you very much, Charles. So yeah, as you heard, you can perfectly join to the channel. He will be around. I think that some people asking in the morning, so maybe now it's the opportunity for you to join. So now I would like to play you a little bit message that another project also left for us. I will just share a different tab here. Here we have it. So we have some brief overview of our IPy leaflet. And enjoy.
Hello, my name is David Brochard. I work at Quantstack, and I am one of the contributors to the IPy leaflet project, together with Martin Renou, Sylvain Corlet, and a lot of other people. And everybody is welcome to contribute, and that's why we are having this JupyterCon sprint. So IPy leaflet is a library that is a bridge between Python and the leaflet JavaScript library, and it allows you to display and control maps from Python in the Jupyter notebook. So you have full access to the Python scientific stack. And for example, I can make use of GeoPandas and read a geodata frame, display a map, and show my data frames on the map. I can also make use of the Xarray Python library in order to read a netcdf file, which is now wrapped into a data array, and display it as a velocity layer on the map, which is pretty nice. There is also a heat map layer. So in this case, I'm just going to generate a bunch of random points. This example is pretty cool because it allows me to display precipitation data according to time. So I have a time slider here, and I can move it. And you can see that the map updates accordingly. So of course, it is still an interactive map. So I can, for example, zoom in on the Amazon region and still use my slider to see more details on this region. I can also use this slider to get a mean precipitation over a period of time. So it takes a bit of time, but it computes the mean. We also use IPy leaflet in a new library called Xarray leaflet, which is a combination of Xarray and IPy leaflet, and which allows you to plot big data by generating them on the fly with Xarray. and plotting them on a leaflet map. So that's an example. For example, here we are showing terrain data, digital elevation model data, and you can see that it's a tiled map. So each tile is computed individually, which allows you to process really big data. And you can see that as I zoom in, data refines. So it allows you also some nice interaction. For example, here I can display a selection tool. So let's say I'm interested in this area. I can select it and get it back as a data array in my notebook and just plot it, for example, with Matplotlib in this case. So how does the code look like? Well, you have a Python side, which declares a bunch of classes. You have the layer class, icon class, marker class, and so on. And you also have a JavaScript side of the library. For example, let's go to the layers and open the marker JavaScript file. And this is the counterpart of the marker class in Python. And for example, it listens to some variable change on the Python side and updates them on the front end. And there is also this is also a bidirectional interactivity. So you can get the bounds of the map, for example, from Python or the zoom level or whatever events you can trigger on the front end. So the nice thing about Leaflet is that it has a bunch of plugins. So let's say I'm interested in this Leaflet hotline plugin, and I would like to make use of it from Python. There is a little demo here. And for example, I can change the width of the line, or I can change the color map and so on. And I could do that from Python. So I will make a wrapper on the Python side that will control some values in JavaScript. So this is pretty easy. That's something you could do on this sprint, for example. You can have a look at the IPyLeaflet GitHub repository, and we have tagged some issues with the JupyterCon sprint tag. So any one of them are good issues to work on during the sprint. Or if you have your own ideas, they are very welcome as well. And we are looking forward to having you in the JupyterCon sprint for IPyLeaflet. Thank you.
So as you saw there, it's really a quite cool project. In the morning, we had a lot of progress there. So I invite you to check one of the open issues still. Maybe you can have a chance to collaborate. And we have still 3 projects to go. I will show you now another clip that was sent to us for Elira, a really cool project. Just check it out. And the people now, I saw it, it's quite active already on Mattermost. So maybe I will just share the video with you so we are on the same page and maybe you will be able to join. Let's watch it.
Elira is a set of AI-centric extensions to JupyterLab. It aims to help data scientists, machine learning engineers, and AI developers through the model development lifecycle complexities. Watch this Elira tour, which highlights some of the new functionality being provided by the project.
When building AI models, different tasks might be decomposed into different notebooks. Each one could be using a different framework, such as Python and Pandas for simple ETL, TensorFlow for deep learning models, or even different languages such as R or Scala. Elira provides a visual editor for building notebook-based AI pipelines, simplifying the conversion of multiple notebooks into batch jobs or workflows. One can add multiple notebooks, define the dependencies between them, which will influence the execution order, as well as populate additional properties, such as which Docker image to use as the runtime environment, or define output files that needs to be propagated to the next step in the pipeline. After that, we are ready to submit the pipeline, which will be assembled and packaged accordingly to the chosen runtime. Elira then delegates the pipeline execution to one of the supported runtimes, independent if it's located in the private or public cloud. Currently, Elira supports the Kubeflow pipeline's runtime. Now, let's take a quick look on the submitted pipeline. The Kubeflow pipeline admin UI provides the ability to inspect the submitted pipeline or look into the experiment details where logs and all other execution information is available. The results are then stored in the associated object storage, and the executed notebook is available in native notebook and HTML format. Training an AI model can take a couple of hours or even days to complete. While the notebook is great for developing these models interactively, a data scientist might increase his productivity by submitting the notebook to be trained as a batch job utilizing more powerful machines from the cloud. Elira extends the notebook UI with a new Submit Notebook button that simplifies the submission of a single notebook as a batch job. When submitting the notebook, it will be packaged with all required dependencies and submitted to the selected runtime. Elira leverages the work that we have done with Jupyter Enterprise Gateway to enable Jupyter Notebooks to share resources across a distributed cluster, such as Apache Spark, Kubernetes, OpenShift, and the like. It simplifies the task of running notebooks interactively on cloud machines seamlessly, leveraging the power of cloud-based resources such as GPUs and TPUs. Elira exposes Python scripts as first-class citizens, introducing the ability to create Python scripts directly from Workspace Launcher, and leveraging the hybrid runtime support to allow users to locally edit their scripts and execute them against local or cloud-based resources seamlessly. Let's take a look at this utility file, which has a function to create Panda data frames from a given URL. Let me add some code that uses the function to read a real estate transaction dataset and try to identify the average selling price per zip code. When we are ready to run it, we can select the best environment to execute the Python script. In this particular case, I'm leveraging resources from the IBM Cloud, more specifically, the IBM Container Services running on Red Hat OpenShift. This would be how data scientists, machine learning engineers, and AI developers would get access to cloud-based resources or specialized hardware such as GPU for handling deep learning model training. And last but not least, Elira provides integrated support for Git repositories, simplifying tracking changes, allowing rollback to working versions of the code, backups, and most importantly, sharing among the team members, fostering productivity by enabling a collaborative working environment.
You just learned about some of the capabilities that Elira introduces to make Jupyter Lab even more effective for enterprise and AI practitioners. We would love for you to get involved with the project. Read our contributing guidelines, create new issues if you have questions, and make suggestions for new features. Your contributions via GitHub pull requests are also welcome. Visit the project at github.com/Elira-AI.
Okay, I saw already that Luciano, one of the sprint leaders, is sharing some links for a WebEx channel that they will be having for online discussions. So if you're interested in Elira, please go to Mattermost and join one of those conversations. We still have 2 projects that I would like to show you that we have some clips for in the morning. So in case that if you don't want to go there and search for a specific project, I will just show it to you directly. And the first one, it's called TV. So here we go.
Okay. So what is Thebe? Thebe transforms any web page with code snippets into a live Jupyter notebook. So here on the left, you see some text that might be on your web page. You have some code, and then there's this activate button. Once you click activate, it transforms into an interactive code cell, just like you would find in a Jupyter notebook.
Jason?
Yes?
Jason, we are looking at only at the slides. So we are still on the main page, so we are not seeing anything else.
Okay, yeah.
There.
I'll leave it on this because I think it opened a new window and I can only share one window or something. Yeah? Okay, are you seeing the what is Thebe slide?
Yes.
All right. On the left, you have some text with some code, and you press activate, and then on the right, it will transform in front of your eyes and create an interactive code text cell that you can then type in, change things. You press run, and it will return some output, the same kind of outputs that you find in any kind of Jupyter notebooks or Jupyter Lab. for example, IPy leaflet would run and display as you saw in the last talk. I'll show you quickly what that is. And are you now seeing LibreText page? Hopefully. Yes. Here's a textbook example. I will press run. It takes about 10 to 20 seconds to start up. And the reason, I'll explain what's happening, is it is now sending a message to a binder installation elsewhere that has a cloud-backed set of servers running all kinds of useful software tools. And once it connects, binder takes that code cell, runs it using the appropriate Jupyter kernel, executes that code in whatever variety of languages that you might be interested in using, and then it returns the output, the same output that you would find in the Jupyter Lab or Jupyter Notebook cell, and then Thebe understands that and displays it on your web page. So here we get a matplotlib plot. If I run that same plot but use a matplotlib widget, we can, or not the same plot, we can also get the same kind of interactive type of plots, etc., that we would find in the lab. So you can get all of this rich JavaScript-based code. Okay, so that's the basic idea of what Thebe does. It's transforming any web page into a Jupyter Notebook, essentially. So I explained how it did it as we were doing that. Where is this used? It was originally funded and helped developed by the Open Dream Kit project, and I think it's in a variety of textbook and materials associated with that. JupyterBook, as the Turing Way mentioned, has Thebe built in, so you can activate code cells and have interactive aspects in your book. We're using it in the LibreText project. There's also integration in a lot of project open source project documentation. In particular, there's a Jupyter Sphinx extension that has a way to enable any page in your documentation to be activated and connect to a binder. And then hopefully, maybe after the sprint, you will add it to your next website. So today you all have seen the regular sprint schedule. I just want to point out that I'll be around for in the morning here a bit in the from the Europe side, but then we've got quite a few people, I think, coming from the Americas in the afternoon, and I'll be there from that 16 to 24 time period, and I think it'll be the majority of the activity in the afternoon, but we'll get everybody started this morning also, and I'll see you there. So things to know: we have a GitHub repository under the executable books project, Thebe. There is a documentation for the developers to help you get started, get things installed, and get your development environment set up. Thebe is written in JavaScript, so we will be working in JavaScript. Do not worry about that if you're a Python person, because I think many of us are not super strong in JavaScript, so we will be learning together to try to make some contributions there. There is standard restructured text type of documentation you can contribute to that is the same as most Python projects. We have good first issues labeled, and also a number labeled for JupyterCon. There is this issue number 239 that discusses the sprint, so we have quite a lot of information there that you can find probably the main pieces of info to get started, and we will converse there in that conversation. We will have the Mattermost open, and then in the Mattermost, I just shared a Zoom link that we will have a video chat running, and I'll keep that on all day as long as TUDelph lets me do that. And right after the launch here, we'll jump into Zoom and try to get folks started. Okay. I think I can stop sharing.
Good. So as you saw, I mean, now we expect to have many people joining from the Americas region. So hopefully, if you're interested enough in Thebe, because we learned how to say Thebe, I thought that it was Thebe. He thought that it was Thief, but it was Thievy, just a fun fact. So feel free to join to the channel. I think that there was already some activity there. So if it's your cup of tea, please go ahead, enjoy these really cool projects. So last but no least, we have another recording from this morning. And in this case will be Kedro. So here you have it, the last one.
Oh, perfect. Good morning, everyone. If you're around this time, if you're on this side of the world. So I'm here today to talk about you a little bit about Kedro. So I'm just going to introduce you to the project for the sprints today. So first of all, just a little bit on the team that is going to be hosting the sprint today. My name is Laís Carvalho. I will be there for most of the time. Then we also have Ietunde. There is our project manager for Kedro. There's going to be there as well for a few hours. And then Tem, there is a user. So he's a super user. And he also has a YouTube channel on Kedro. So we're all going to be there ready to host you. And then just a little bit of the volunteering that I have been doing and I'm doing right now. So we helped running, and that's how I met Christian as well. We helped running EuroPython this year. We also did a little bit of PyData. I'm a member of Python Ireland. We're hosting PyJamas this year. There is a conference a Python conference where everywhere presents wearing pajamas. And we would love to have a few more volunteers join us as well. So if you feel like volunteering for something a little bit more than a few contributions, just send me a message. We'd love to have you there. And then there is also Humble Data. Humble Data is running a data science workshop in the PyData Global. And well, we would love to have more people there as well. So if you're also interested on that, just let me know. Now, a little bit about the sprints today, as it's necessary. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of who we are at QB, so the maintainers of Kedro. Then I'll explain you a little bit about Kedro, and then I show you why you should be contributing today. So first of all, Quantum Black is an advanced analytics company. So we are born out of Formula One. But basically what that means is that our founders used to do advanced analytics on Formula One. And then one day they thought, well, what about if we apply all these concepts that we know into businesses? And that's how Quantum Black was born. We were acquired by McKinsey something like 4 years ago. And something like 2 years ago, we decided to open source Kedro. So Kedro is the first open source project produced by Quantum Black. And it's a little bit different from everything else that we're seeing here because, well, Kedro is an open source, it's an enterprise open source, which means there is a company, there is a core team, and there's dedicated to develop the tool. But, well, we love contributors anyway. So if you feel like contributing, just come over. Then a little bit about Kedro. So Kedro is an open source Python library that is maintained mostly by Quantum Black, as I explained it already. And it's the bridge between machine learning and software engineering. So basically what we do is we try to easy up the job of building machine learning and data science data pipelines. So we help you writing data pipelines that are consistent, scalable, robust, reproducible, and deployable. And we do that from Jupyter Notebook to deployment phase. So we have integration with Jupyter Notebooks. It's possible to convert your Jupyter Notebook coding to a Kedro project and then apply, it's a simple CLI command you can start running. You can add Git, there's logging added already as well. All the documentation is made with things out of the box. We have Kedro Viz, there is this image that you're seeing on the computer there, and also in my background here, there's basically the visualization tool for Kedro. There is also Kedro Docker to help you package your project and ship it. And there is also Kedro Airflow if you're looking for scheduling tools and other things to like measure the efficiency of your project. Then real quick, what does Kedro, the problems that Kedro actually solves? So when you're working in a data science and a machine learning project with people with loads of people in a team, and you're doing your research and exploration, and you ended up producing these very, very, very long Jupyter notebooks, they are not open for collaboration. People cannot just fork it and start doing things on your notebook. Also, if you're moving to script, if your preferred workflow is not Jupyter Notebooks, if you use script more, or if you work initially on Jupyter Notebooks and then convert those code cells into scripts, you can run it. If you're working in a team again, you can run an issue of incompatible environments. Your code is not that reproducible. There's a little bit of frustration generated because of that, because of the challenging communication. So that's another problem that Kedro tries to solve. And basically, this whole issue of cyclical experimentation when you're dealing with production code, this is exactly the issue we're trying to avoid. This is the main one. All the time waste, all the very expensive time expenditure between experimenting, deployment, and analyzing the deployment of the code, and then maybe going back to experimentation and doing that all over again. Instead, when you're talking about production code, is a linear process that goes from ingestion of data into evaluation of model, and throughout all those steps, Kedro can help you. Then, as Morpheus tells us, the challenge of creating machine learning products is definitely not the machine learning itself, but building and maintaining that data pipeline is. And that's exactly what Kedro is trying to help you with. So then a little bit more about the tool. So basically, Kedro is based on 4 different parts. So there is a project template that is based on cookie cutter data science. I don't know if you're familiar with cookie cutter data science, but if you're not, come and ask me some questions. We can talk a little bit about that. But basically what the cookie cutter data science template tries to do is standardize the way people work, in a sense that if everyone knows what goes where in which folder, the team can work in a little bit more of a streamline together. Then there is configuration. So Kedro asks you to do all the to separate all the configuration for your code and to put them into different files. Data catalog, for example, there is another part of Kedro, is a data connector. It's basically a YAML file that is where all your data file paths go in. And then we give a name to that file, to that data source, and that becomes your data catalog. And then you can use that data anywhere else in your project, which means that when you want to change the location of that data, you don't need to go everywhere looking for where the hard-coded file path is. You just need to change it. You just need to change it into the data catalog. And then nodes and pipelines. So Kedro works with pure Python functions. That basically takes an input and transforms that data and then outputs something else. The meaning of a pure Python function, also we can talk about it as soon as you come visit us. And then a collection of nodes with dependency and relationships is called a pipeline. So Kedro works with DAGs, so it's directly acyclic graphs, which basically means that you cannot have a output of a node serving in as input for another node in a cyclical way. So you need to make sure that they have a workflow. So then you can generate your DAGs. So I can show you now. Let me see. Yes, so I wanted to show you this. So this is basically what a DAG, a pretty big one. This is how a DAG looks like. This is Kedro Viz. So you can select different parts of your project based on the folders, the different folders, and then you can see, you can analyze. These are, so as you can see here, these are data sources, these are functions, so these are our nodes, and then this is the output for this function that goes into it as input for another function, and so on. Then going back, just a quick explanation if you're not 100% sure of how DAGs work. Then the project on GitHub. So we have a project there. I saw Christian putting the link here in a few minutes ago. We have loads of first-time issues. We have a few beginner-friendly ones. I also have a few tutorials for you to try. And we also have a feature of you can make your own examples. So you can simply have a look at the examples that are already on one of our repos, and then build your own with your own data source. So if you need help to find some data for yourself, and we can build that together, and then you can push that link into our community page, and that also counts as a pull request. We are part of Hacktoberfest as well, so if you're in the quest for that t-shirt, just come and contribute, make a little bit of a project, and we can help you with that. And then, well, Mr. Data Engineering 1, so this is Tem. Tem is going to be with us for a few hours today. He has a YouTube channel with loads of cool suggestions as well for with tutorials, video tutorials for you to try. Then if you have any questions or if you don't know where necessarily to look for answers for those, we have a new Discourse channel. They're also more than happy to have new joiners. And then, well, we do have swags. They're not cow duck socks. I'm afraid, I'm sorry, but we have some very cool Rubik's Cubes, and we have some t-shirts as well, and we'd love to have you there, so come and contribute. Then if you're in the mood for a little bit of lounge, Kedra also has a playlist on Spotify, and it has some cool chilling tunes for coding. And well, if you're looking for a job, QB is hiring, so if you're any of those things that are written over there, just come and talk to me later on. And well, that's it. Happy coding, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, folks, so thank you very much. That was the last project presentation that we had. Please check on JupyterCon the sprint page so you know where the wrap-up session for the second half of the sprint will happen. So hopefully many of you will be able to collaborate and contribute some pull requests so that we can discuss by the end of the sprint. Enjoy and happy